setter from Costa Mesa will get the start today as the starting setter. Almost ready to kick off game 1 of 9 from Santa Barbara and the 61st edition of the A6 Invitational. For Kentucky State, the school located in Frankfort, Kentucky, and back to serve. Here we go, best 3 out of 5 sets from Santa Barbara. There's already a rocket of a serve from Jackson Moffitt to kick us off. Looking to the right side and a score. That combo block on the left-hand side of the net for UCSB. So here's Cole Schobel now in his second year, the starting setter. George Brunian went for some high hands and a free chance, but ball handling mistake from Andreas Schutz in the first point of the day for Kentucky State. So for Kentucky State, the Thoroughbreds, 5th year as a program. And last year they had their season cut short, only played 7 matches due to some guys getting injured and some guys being unavailable. So Kentucky State looking to build upon with their second-year head coach, Keith Jones. Deeper roster this year, looking to build and find cohesion in this A6 Invitational. Back to serve now for UC Santa Barbara, Raglan Kier, the Santa Barbara native, now in his second year. Redshirted last year, and he is quite the player. Here comes Moffitt, looks to the right side. Going for high hands, no touch. And a point for UC Santa Barbara. Ababio, the freshman from Baltimore, has already seen a couple of looks on that right side for Kentucky State. But Raglan Kier did not play last year, but the coaching staff able to utilize the redshirt year for number 18, say what a cannon of an arm he has when everything is timed up. It is quite the sight. And a point for Santa Barbara, an early 4-1 lead. So a Santa Barbara native graduated from Santa Barbara High School. And this roster for UC Santa Barbara all comprised of players from the state of California and an ace for Raglan Kier. Also went to San Clemente High School, but did graduate from Santa Barbara High School. And a nice run to start off his collegiate career behind the service line. It's Jacob Herman now in the front row for Kentucky State. And back to serve, Jeremiah Willman, the freshman, graduated last year of Vasquez High School. And Barbara will get the side out in the first ever meeting between the Thoroughbreds and the Gauchos. And keeping with the theme, we just saw Raglan Kier behind the service line. Another graduate of Santa Barbara High School, Andreas Schutz, now in his second year with the Gauchos. First look at Ben Pearson. He's got another crack at it. And a good dig by Coleman. The transition swing swiped in the block, but down, and a point for Santa Barbara. And you look at the size difference between these two teams. George Brunian, who got the majority of that ball, standing at 6'10". A lot of size is what Kentucky State will see this weekend between UC Santa Barbara, UC Irvine, and CSUN. All the teams playing out of the Big West. That ball is down, and an ace for Andreas Schutz. Andreas Schutz last year, 13 matches, made 10 starts in a year that the Santa Barbara Gauchos dealt with a lot of injury. A lot of young guys got some chances to play due to those injuries. And a slash and swing on the right side. Charles Ababio picks up his first kill, the freshman out of Baltimore. Already been targeted a couple times by Jackson Moffitt. He goes back to serve. His coach, Keith Jones, now in his second year, says such a steady and heavy arm when everything's working in system for the starting opposite. Early 9-3 lead for Santa Barbara. Gauchos ranked 17 in the preseason AVCA poll. Here's Jameer Patterson, another freshman. He hails from Chicago, Illinois. And quite a young team. And as a result of that serve, free ball coming over for the Thoroughbreds, and they cash in. Jacob Herman out of the middle. It all started with the serve. And the freshman from Columbus, Herman, his first kill. Ben Pearson dug momentarily. Coleman, fantastic effort. Rather, that was Jamal Gray with the fantastic dig. And Cole Schobel unloads. And last year, the setter for UCSB, he had 60 kills, had 133 swings, and the big left mid of 15. Any ball that's sent over, he's not afraid on going over on an overpass or over on two. Gauchos lead 10-5. Service error from Ben Pearson. And the side out for Kentucky State. Game 1 of 3 today. Game 1 of 9. The 61st A6 Invitational. And here's Jacob Herman with the service. And a nice back row combination. Schobel and Ben Pearson. And right before that last sequence, checking in the front row, Dylan Pilvis, the freshman from El Segundo. He's now back to serve. Dylan and his twin Ryan, two big middle blockers for UCSB this season. That'll be a point for UCSB. And more on the Pilvis twins. So they're freshmen from El Segundo. Both stand at 6'7". And one of the things the coaching staff for UC Santa Barbara are most excited about, that middle blocker position. And the big block from Rob Jim. UC Santa Barbara, Kentucky State kicking off the 61st edition of the A6 Invitational. UC Santa Barbara out to an early 13-6 lead. Kentucky State calling their first timeout of the match. Dylan Pilvis continues to serve for UC Santa Barbara. And a good timeout by Kentucky State, resulting in the subsequent service error. Pilvis will check out on the left-hand side of the floor. Joe Wallace, the libero, back on. As Jackson Moffitt, the freshman from Texas, was back to serve, an exchange of errors from the Gauchos and the Thoroughbreds. Cole Schobel now back to serve in his second year with UC Santa Barbara. And last year's season where the Gauchos went 12-16 and a 3-7 Big West record. That ball will miss. As Charles Ababio was looking for high hands from the outside and missed the fingertips of Schutz and Bruning. But the Gauchos battered with injuries really the past 2 years. And a lot of young guys got some chances and a lot of competition for every position for UC Santa Barbara this year. And Pearson, second back row combination, linking up with Schobel. So you look at the two starting outsides today for UCSB, Ben Pearson and Raglan Kier. Kier in his first ever collegiate action, redshirted last year, and Ben Pearson, the redshirt junior, in his fourth year. Tough first contact. Moffitt flew into the stands, and an ace for Cole Schobel. And the other pin for UCSB, George Bruning, has also played as the outside, but typically by trade as an opposite, holding down the right-hand side of the net for UCSB. Schobel continues to work on Jamal Gray. That's set outside the antenna. And a tough play for Charles Ababio. But it looks like a net on UCSB. And it will be a serve now for Kentucky State. Riker no boom, and a big block out of the middle. Willman got the majority of it, the freshman from California. First stuff of the afternoon for Kentucky State. 2022, first ever year of men's volleyball for Kentucky State. And now back-to-back points for the Thoroughbreds. One of the big focuses this weekend for Kentucky State, finding cohesion, playing the toughest competition all season long the next 3 days. Playing the number 17 ranked team in the country, UC Irvine, who's ranked number 6, and then the CSUN Matadors ranked number 11. The best teams they'll see all season here on opening weekend. This is Raglan Kier. Really nice serve. And another point for UCSB, leading 19-10. Changes now for Kentucky State. Jacob Herman back in the front row, the freshman from Columbus. And Jeremiah Willman, who had the stuff block, back to serve. Just a freshman, and his head coach Keith Jones saying he's going to be relied heavily this year from the middle blocker position. And that's the big thing for Kentucky State. If you're joining us late last year, they had a season that was cut short due to limited personnel, some injuries, some guys becoming unavailable. So a season cut short in early March, had games canceled early on in the season, needing to find cohesion, trying to continue to grow this Kentucky State program. That set was tight to the pin, and well done for Patterson just to get it over. And on the right side, found some success with Charles Ababio, and the freshman from Maryland puts it down. Picked up the kill, and Ababio back to serve. Nice pass by Wallace, and sets up a rocket out of the middle by Dylan Pilvist. First kill of his career, the freshman standing at 6'7". And you look at the size for UCSB, Pilvist out of the middle there, 6'7". Raglan Kier, 6'7". George Bruning, 6'10". A lot of good size for UCSB, especially with the Pilvis twins coming into the program. Here's Jameer Patterson. And Pearson, first swing, not out of the back row, in the shallow cross court. Pearson's already got 3 kills. Pearson last year had 68. Had some limited time, struggled with some injury last year, and that was really the name of the game last year for UC Santa Barbara. Great serve by Pearson. That will sail long. And a point for UCSB. Forcing the deep swing well beyond the 10-foot line from Riker Noteboom. And Pearson, when he was available, an incredibly efficient .343 hitting percentage. Induces the overpass, and an early whistle. It was a net on Kentucky State. And now UC Santa Barbara set point number 1, leading 24-13 over Kentucky State at the SIAC Conference. Working on Gray once again. Tight to the net, Schobel muscles it through, but this will be a point for Kentucky State on a net violation. Schobel was going up and coming down, grazing the tape. So set point now number 2 for UC Santa Barbara. Schobel over on 2 and paints the sideline. And the Gauchos take the opening set. Maybe if Gray got there. But a nice rally to kick off the second frame. And an ace serve for Schobel. Second ace of the afternoon for Schobel, who last year had 20 aces. Gauchos a season ago averaged 1.3 aces a set. Tough first contact. Free chance coming for Santa Barbara. And that's cranked. Shuts out of the middle. First kill of the season now for Andreas Schutz. Santa Barbara native, and it remains with Cole Schobel in a 3-0 run to start the second for Santa Barbara. Out of system look now for George Bruning. And that ball is painted into the corner. First point of the second set, courtesy of Jameer Patterson. Patterson picked up the kill, goes back to serve. And then the point for Kentucky State on the unforced error by Santa Barbara. So Kentucky State play out of the Southern Intercollegiate Athletic Conference of SIAC. On their 5th year as a men's volleyball team. Can Santa Barbara capitalize here? Yes, they can. Raglan Kier working from the right side in this rotation. Kier, one of the 2 starting outsides today for UCSB. He's going to now go back to serve. And the development from the Santa Barbara native from last year to this year keeps on getting better, keeps on growing. Growing in terms of his volleyball game and also his stature, says the coaching staff. Nice stab by Gray. And a reload for George Bruning. And a kill for number 5 in blue. And Bruning, this past summer, playing with the U23 USA national team. Took silver at the Pan America Games. And 3 Gauchos actually representing the United States, the junior levels. And an ace serve for Raglan Kier. Two other Gauchos representing the United States, Riggs Guy and Josh Aruya. Aruya not dressing today, and Riggs Guy will be seeing plenty of in the coming days. Remember, UCSB will be executing a number of different lineups throughout the course of this tournament. And Riggs Guy, the top returning offensive player who returns with 217 kills. Not seen him so far today. That's the serve by Jacob Herman. And now a transition look for Kentucky State. Looking for a touch for the Thoroughbreds, missing, and a point for the Gauchos. Dylan Pilkvist back in the front row. Joe Wallace, libero, out. And Andreas Schutz played 30 sets last year. 6'4" middle blocker. And it looks like a rotation issue now for Kentucky State. An immediate whistle and an immediate point for the Gauchos. So an early 8-3 lead in the second. Gauchos took the first 25-14. Our second referee, Christina Gonzalez, immediately whistling Kentucky State for the rotation issue. And that ball was off the hands of Bruning and ends up being a point for Kentucky State. On the set over the net, up fourth point of the second for the Thoroughbreds. This is Jackson Moffitt, one of the many freshmen on this team, really physical, and the coaching staff and Keith Jones expecting him to step into a big role, and he's got an ace. Moffitt will have a lot of an opportunity to play this year. Brings some good size as well, 6'2". Play the outside and also set. Tight pass and a one-handed bid by Schobel, put away by Pilkvist. Really nice done by Cole Schobel, 6'1" setter from Costa Mesa. And that ball will fall out of play on the touch by Pearson. Pilkvist was also there. Gaucho lead 10-6. Here's Ben Pearson. Again, limited last year with injury, but he's been twice named the Golden Eagle winner for men's volleyball, and that's the player with the best academic GPA on the team. The coaching staff says how incredibly smart Pearson is, handles such a big workload, and also a fantastic volleyball player. Transition swing, that's off the pin, and a point for Kentucky State. And Kentucky State, after hitting well into the negative, settling in nicely into the second set. Got down early, just a 3-point advantage, and now 4 on the service error for Santa Barbara. And as we progress throughout the course of this tournament, really every coach will tell you playing in this A6 Invitational, just a matter of seeing what your guys are going to be able to do. First time you're truly keeping score. Get a sense of where your team's at. Back row combination for Bruning. It's going to be a point for Kentucky State before a net violation's called. So that's going to be a point for UCSB. Would have been a hitting error, but Bruning and the Gauchos bailed out on a net. It's a 12-7 Gaucho lead. And Raglan Kier hammers it into the floorboards. Gray got a stab to it. Raglan Kier, the freshman that the Gauchos are so excited to see. And now the first true changes of the match for UCSB. Bruning's going to check out. Owen Longcar is going to take over. And also the other Pilkvist twin now in the front row, Ryan, now making his debut for Santa Barbara, as his twin Dylan misses long. So Rick McLaughlin making the first changes. Said earlier in the week we'll try to ride out the starters that he puts out each and every day as long as possible, and just like to see what they're going to be able to do. And the first look at Owen Longcar. Puts it away in the first kill for 24 on the young season. So Longcar came in for George Bruning, now playing as the opposite. And there's a good competition that Owen Longcar is putting on George Bruning. And Longcar now the senior in his 4th year. Right now it's Cole Schobel behind the line. Targeting Jamal Gray once again. Nice dig by Wallace. And that's off the block. What a rally, what a point for Kentucky State. Jackson Moffitt will be credited with the kill. But what a dig by Wallace to keep that ball alive. Scrappy transition look for Kentucky State. Kier working from the right side, induces an overpass. Looking at the back row, no touch, as it's been a Bobbio who's had a lot of success throughout this match. Doesn't find a touch on that last swing. Bruh from Rob Jim. Gauchos leading the match 1-0. Took the first set 25-14 over Kentucky State. They lead the second 15-9. Right now, the Gauchos hitting .353 in the second. The Kentucky State hitting efficiency at 111. It's about 300 points higher than they were in the first, and you could tell settling in. The Kentucky State team that's facing some very daunting competition this weekend, the best competition they'll see all season long. It's an overpass by Kier, and Longcar finishes it off. Long Carson's coming in for George Bruni on the right side. 2 swings, 2 kills for Owen. Remains with Raglan Kier. Jamal Gray's going to check out. Jeremiah Willman, the middle blocker, 6'2", freshman, checks back in. That's going to sail along from Jacob Herman. So now Ryan Pilkvist back to serve for the first time in his collegiate career. His twin brother in the front row, both of them middle blockers. A very deep middle blocking position now this year for UCSB. We haven't seen Josh Aruya. Did not dress today. Saw Andreas Schutz, the senior in his second in the middle blocking position, get the start. So Ryan checks out. Joe Wallace back in as the libero. And it's now an 18-11 advantage for UCSB. So here's Owen Longcar. He hails from Pacific Palisades, the 6'3" outside, but that's what he's listed on the roster. Been playing as the opposite on that right-hand side of Cole Schobel. Looking for a touch. There was none. As Riker Noteboom, 6'2", outside working from the right pin. He's looking for a touch on Pilkvist. And now the second timeout being called by Kentucky. For Kentucky was chartered in 1886 on a campus of over 1,000 acres. And that 1,000 acres also includes a 200-acre ag research farm. And the enrollment right around 2,200 over in Frankfort and Kentucky State. Right now the Gauchos leading 19-11 over the Thoroughbreds. Seen some changes in the rotation for Rick McLaughlin. A little last-minute instruction from associate head coach Blaine Nielsen to Ben Pearson. And Owen Longcar, such a fierce competitor, back to serve. Good timeout by Kentucky State. They get the side out. One of the big goals this weekend for the Thoroughbreds, find cohesion. Very young team. And the word that they've been using throughout the course of this season, compete. That's been the message from Keith Jones, and he said how fun of a group it has been to coach in the early goings leading up to this season opener here in Santa Barbara. Gauchos leading 20-12. Ben Pearson back to serve. Seen some service errors in this second set. Now the serving sub coming in for Kentucky State, Jalen Jones. Now on to serve the junior from Ohio. Just played one match last year, 3 sets. And that will sail along. Dylan Pilkvist, graduate last year of El Segundo High School. Now back to serve. Transition look now for Santa Barbara. Kier hammers it over the top of the block. And point 22 in the second for UCSB. Both Pilkvist twins currently on the floor. Working on Gray once again. To the outside, and a nice stab by Pearson. Well off the net for Owen Longcar, and he has been fantastic since coming into rotation. Out of the back row, no problem for 24. Ten-point Gaucho advantage in the second. Nice control touch by Kentucky State. That's outside the antenna and a point for UCSB. It was a tough play for Jackson Moffitt, just the freshman. Tried to one-hand knife it over to opposite. But it's set point number one for UCSB. And an ace will cap off the second set. Dylan Pilkvist, an ace to claim the second. And UC Santa Barbara rolling. Assists along with two aces as he gets more instruction from assistant coach Randy DeWeese, who not too long ago played under Rick McLaughlin here at UC Santa Barbara. The Gauchos, who saw so many departures from last year's season, when you look at them and you just even name them off. Jess Bianchi, an All-American. Big man out of the middle. Owen Berg, who also played outside as well. Ben Court, Jack Walmer, along with the guys of Max Gordon and Sam Meister. And you name all those guys for UC Santa Barbara, but really with all those injuries throughout the course of the season, a lot of the young players for UCSB got chances into the rotation, got some experience, and all the excitement around this team now for UCSB. Of course, you're playing in the toughest volleyball conference in the men's game, the Big West. But the addition of the two 6'7" middle blockers, the twins, the Pilkvist twins. Raglan Kier, after his redshirt freshman year, stepping into a big role. And we'll see what kind of response now from Kentucky State. It was a tough opening set. Of course, you're facing the number 17th ranked team in the country, coming all the way across the country from the Commonwealth of Kentucky. They're playing some very tough competition, and you did see Kentucky State more control touches, more insistent at second set. And that's the big thing for the Thoroughbreds, trying to find cohesion, playing very tough teams all weekend long. As Keith Jones, just in his second year, continuing to grow this program. That's his mission. As you see him just in front of the bench, wearing all black today for Kentucky State. Build this program up and see what they can do in the coming years. Just their 5th year sponsoring men's volleyball. As the Gauchos go out of the middle for Ryan Pilkvist. First kill of his career. Second time he's been targeted by Schobel. Speaking of which, setter goes back to serve now with 17 assists on the afternoon. Tough first contact by Noteboom. And the Bobbio's been very busy, especially out of the backcourt. Into the middle, couldn't be kept up by Wallace, and a kill for Jacob Herman. Herman's second kill, and to finish the thought on Charles Bobbio. He's been targeted 19 times, most of any hitter by far so far in this match. Out of system chance now for UCSB. Raglan Kier slices it through the block off hands, and a Gaucho point. Raglan Kier leading all hitters with 6 kills and targeted 10 times on the afternoon, hitting well over 400. Right side, Longcar went for high hands and a point for Kentucky State. Owen Longcar came in for George Bruning as the opposite. George got the start today. Good serve by Herman. Nice dig by Ababio. Trying to recycle the point, now a chance for UCSB. Nice first contact by Pearson. The Schobel set, and the Ryan Pilkvist kill. Pilkvist, give him 2 as he's going to now go back to serve. Change of liberos now for the Thoroughbreds. D'Angelo Coleman now in the backcourt. And an ace serve for Pilkvist. Ryan and his twin brother Dylan graduated last year from El Segundo High School. And Ryan, quite the athlete. Played water polo, football, cross, and also basketball. Along with playing some volleyball as well. Of course, going on to play now with UCSB. Kentucky State using the 2 libero system. Coleman checks out. Brought him in for serve receive, and now Jamal Gray, graduating his 5th year back on the floor. Owen Longcar will go back to serve for CSB. 10 aces in last year's season. Now in his 4th year with UCSB. That's well off the net. And Ababio tried to do the best that he could with it, and a point for UCSB. Kept alive on the stab. And Pearson feathers it into the block. There was also a net violation, but either way, the point's going to UCSB. And Ben Pearson, his 4th kill of the afternoon. For UCSB, one of the things the coaching staff has said this year, the training level has just jumped up a notch from last year's season. More on that in just a moment. That's out of play on the service error, and a point for Kentucky State. One of the big things that the coaching staff has said this year and seen for UC Santa Barbara, the growth mentally. It was a very young team last year, and of course with all the injuries, the young players getting the chance to play, the growth mentally has been huge, and they're at a much higher level. As that ball was kept alive as Schobel waterfalled it down. And Longcar high flying out of the back row. A nice combination, 8-4 Gaucho lead. Seen a lot of D-balls early from Kentucky State. Longcar dipped into that party, is now Ben Pearson, one of the best all-around players for UCSB. Dug by Notebloom. Wiped, and that ball also painted the back corner. Good play by Jameer Patterson. As one man was just trying to get up. There was a change for UCSB. Mikey Denver has checked in for the first time in his career. And Raglan Kier unloads, dug by Kentucky State. The overset, and a point for UCSB. What an effort from the Thoroughbreds just to keep that ball alive. But this is the 3rd change made by Rick McLaughlin. Mikey Denver, another Santa Barbara native, checks in, making his debut here this afternoon. Dug by Kier and a reload. But a mishandled ball. And that ball played by the setter who was out of the back row illegally in the front. You see it there by Moffitt, who's in the backcourt. And a point for UCSB. But here's Mikey Denver, twice named to the first team All-Channel League while he was at Santa Barbara High School. And UC Santa Barbara, all comprised of players from the state of California. And Santa Barbara well represented. There's a Bobbio on the right side. Well over 20 attempts for number 15 in white. He's going to go back to serve. The steady and heavy arm from the freshman from Baltimore. A lot of freshmen getting fantastic experience this afternoon for Kentucky State. And regardless of the results this weekend for the Thoroughbreds, when you get to play nationally ranked teams on the road, and not just on the road, far on the road from Kentucky all the way out to California, what an experience it is for the Thoroughbreds in just their 5th year as a program. That ball high into the rafters. Feathered and sniffed out by Ryan Pilkvist. The hang time here on the 2-man block. 12-6 Gaucho lead. They lead sets to none over the Thoroughbreds. Match 1 of 3 being played today. Next match will be UCI and Maryville. And UCI's UC Irvine. Transition look now for Owen Longcar. Got it. And Longcar, when he came in the second set, he went 3 for 3 matches for UCSB. Got ahead late in games, gave up some points, ended up coughing up some sets that coaching staff would have liked the team to put away. You lose in 5, and that's how your season came to a close. With the joust won at the net by Jackson Moffitt. Well done by the freshman from Texas. Moffitt, 6'2". Here had 5 inches on him, but won by the freshman Moffitt. (14-7) Gaucho lead. And here is Raglan Kier. 6 kills on 11 attempts, hitting .455, first ever collegiate match for the redshirt freshman. Big serve missing long. Now some changes for the Thoroughbreds. Raider Paha, the senior, will now check in. He's going to take over and serve for Jacob Herman, the 6'1" middle blocker. Also Jeremiah Willman, the freshman from California, back in the front row. So here's Paha. First time he's touched the floor this afternoon. And also Mikey Denver now back in the front row for UCSB. Did not start this match, nor did Owen Longcar. Neither the man behind the service line, Ryan Pilkvist. Both have come in the middle of this match for Rick McLaughlin. Nice first contact and well done by a Bobbio. Had to cover a lot of ground from the point of contact. The set from Moffitt and a lot of right back combinations between him and a Bobbio. Nice pass by Wallace. And an unforced error by the Gauchos and Mikey Denver. (15-10) Gaucho lead. Hitting 333 on the match. That is the Gauchos' hitting efficiency. And here's Owen Longcar, and he has made the most of his time on the floor this afternoon. Did not start. He's got 5 kills on 9 targets, 1 error for .444 hitting efficiency. And he's got an ace. The rocket of a serve. Ball rattled around. And Owen Longcar, good veteran presence on this team that is continuing to find more and more an experience. Brings quite an energy day in and day out. The training sessions and what he brings on the floor, such a fierce competitor. Here's Riker Noteboom, 6'2" outside freshman One hand stab by Moffitt. Out of system set. Nice play by Raglan Kier to keep it alive. And Owen Longcar the kill. Look at that play from Joe Wallace. Set up Longcar out of the back row. There's the Santa Cruz native. And Ben Pearson continuing the great serving from Santa Barbara. And now Coach McLaughlin will make another change. Raglan Kier made his debut today. And Ashton Saint will now check in for Santa Barbara. One appearance last year for Saint. He's now in as one of the two outsides for UCSB. And back-to-back aces for Ben Pearson. And one of the things the coaches will tell you about Ben Pearson, how good he is in all facets of the game. Defensively, serve, reception, now you've seen it with two aces. And of course, what he does offensively as well. And the serving run will continue for Ben Pearson. It is a 22-21 Gaucho lead. 21-11 after that last point for CSB. Working on Coleman, who came in for serve receive. And Ben Pearson continues to hammer from behind the service line. It's game 1 of 3 that will be played here. UC Irvine and Harvard will be next. First serve will be at 4:30 Pacific time, and then CSUN Maryville at 7 o'clock local time. And another ace for Pearson. Wow. Unbelievable from 23. Pearson, who had 12 aces last year, this run alone, he's got a couple. And the Gauchos approaching match point here in Rob Jim. There was a change of liberos. That was Gray on the first reception. And another point for UCSB. Can't get Pearson off the line. And it's now match point for Santa Barbara. What a run from Ben Pearson. So it'll be match point number 2 as Jeremiah Willman back to serve for the Thoroughbreds. It's going to sail long, and the Gauchos take the first match of the A6 Invitational in straight sets against Kentucky State. 25-12. Third set victory for UC Santa Barbara. Kentucky State tomorrow will face UC Irvine at 7 o'clock Pacific time. And the Gauchos tomorrow will play Maryville at 4:30 Pacific time. As both these teams continue their play in this round-robin tournament here in Santa Barbara. Kentucky State, a team just its 5th year since the program was sponsored by the university. And their head coach, Keith Jones, will continue to grow this program, continue to build after a season that was cut short last year. And they're going to have a fantastic experience playing some of the top teams in the country this weekend.